On the line, Tony Kakko from Sonata Arctica. Tony, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
It's good to have you back again. I spoke to you in October 2016, right when the 9th Hour was just about to come out. Just do a bit of a recap for us. How did that album go for you, and what have you been doing in the meantime?
It went well. We had great tours with it all over the world, and then the beginning of the tour was pretty tough. It was intense. We had a lot of shows and not enough free time. So after we've gone around the world once, we decided to kind of calm it down a little bit and have breaks between tours and do other things. Also start slowly concentrating on writing the new material, obviously, and had an acoustic adventure tour here in Europe. And so that's about it. But anyway, the album was great success. People seemed to enjoy it. It was very much in line with the previous album, Paradise Child, and I somehow feel Talviyö is also in the same family of albums.
Righto, so when did we sit down and start on this new album?
Well, I've been, of course, compiling material for years and years. Some of the ideas are really, really old, like 30 years old almost. And but I really started compiling the actual songs early 2018. And in the summer, during some festival here in Europe, I was able to play all the demos to the guys already, and our producer Mikko Tegelman, and that's about it. It took like roughly half a year to get all the songs together, and then we entered the studio in September, and it took 8 months almost to get the final album up. But we did a lot of things in between. It wasn't just spending time in the studio the whole time.
As far as writing the songs, is it just you?
Yes, yeah, thus far. Jani, the ex-guitar player, he composed one song, and then the keyboard player, Henrik, he has composed one song, but the rest, 100 and something songs are by me. So yeah, it's me.
What process works for Sonata Arctica? Do you all get in the studio as a band, or are different members elsewhere recording their material?
We usually get together in the studio, at least in not the whole time, but in some point to kind of get the feeling together, like which songs we really want to have and what kind of atmosphere we want to have on the album there. But a lot of the recordings are done like separately. This time we had a little bit different approach. Our drummer Tommy and bass player Pasi, they played their parts live in the studio, which was was great. It gives this more organic, live-like feeling, the whole album, when the rhythm section plays together. And the rest of the guys were just, enjoying the ride up until that point, and then started doing the overdubs. But we spend a lot of time in the studio, even when it's not really necessary, like together as a band, because it certainly gives the whole album more like band feel. At least, I like to be there when anybody's doing anything, because I always have something to say to anything. And it's so much easier when you're actually there instead of, hearing a track that Elias has played with guitar or something, and I have to this would be great if we did do it like slightly differently or whatever. So I love being there.
Gee, I really wish you played it like this. I really wish you didn't do it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Could you play it more like, something? I don't know.
Now, what sort of studio are we recording at? Is it someone's home? Is it a cabin in the mountains? What's the deal?
It's called Studio 57, and it's owned by our bass player Pasi and his business associate. It's nearby a town of Kokkola in Finland, and it's a real actual studio. With just a lot of the overdubs, like I sang all the backing vocals and a lot of the other stuff back home, because it's these days really easy. You can buy a computer and decent microphone and such things, and then you can just go. And same applies to many things, but there are still a lot of parts on the album that are, I think it's really necessary to go in an actual real studio. Like obviously the drums at least, because it's got a lot to do with the space that you're using to play if you want to have real drums. Yeah, really, and real drum sounds. on your album, and this is what we aimed at.
Now, I'd listened to a lot of the new albums I hear in the car, and I did with this new album, but just before you called, I was listening and actually had a pen and paper and wrote some things down. Let's talk about them if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
In the Whirlwind song, the one lyric that really grabbed me, walking away in the dark, leaving everything. Tell me how you came to what that one's about.
The whole song is about like a relationship ending and just leaving everything behind. Like sometimes a banana is just a banana. There's nothing too deep behind it, but ending a relationship and just going without saying anything and just.
It's a very final line, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But not killing anybody, but just leaving the current situation, life behind, and moving forward. That's the idea.
Now, Storm the Armada. Write a letter to your future self. Tell us about this song.
Storm the Armada is it's about how we are destroying this planet by the choices we make, basically, and it's really easy to think what kind of letter you would write to your young version of yourself, basically, that giving advices that this thing that you didn't go really well and that one was really good and you should do this and that. But, you can sometimes write also or think that what kind of letter you would write to your future self and especially what kind of letter your future self would write to you right now. That are you doing the things the right way right now? And that song is basically somehow like it's just environmentally trying to raise awareness that we should not sell things that we cannot buy back and something that we will lose definitely. And in this case, it's just veiled in moon that destroyed the moon and the future children won't have moon. And basically it means that the world will be destroyed in the process.
One of my other favourite tracks on the album, I notice it's the one you've chosen as the lyric video, and that's A Little Less Understanding. Now, possibly the greatest line in the last 10 years, like the window pane of life, you only see the stains in the sunlight. That's an amazing line.
Right, thank you very much. It's a funny thing. It's sort of together with I Have a Right from 2012 album Stones Grow Her Name, and it's about doing the right choices, bringing up your child and not spoiling the kid too much. And it was funny. When I wrote the song, it was the last track that I came up with, and with an idea that it would probably be the bonus track for Japan, being really simple and everything. But same thing happened with I Have a Right, that it actually it was written to be the bonus track, but it became the first single, and then still the lyrical content is like. This is like a sequel for I Have a Right. Little Less Understanding. You're talking about a child that is a little older, that, you should give them freedom and all the, vanities, things like smartphones and such, or should you, basically? And where is the line for being a bad parent and a good parent with giving all these things to your kid? Because when you give your child too much, you are denying him or her also a lot of things, because it was somewhere, there was a study that a smartphone is as addictive as cocaine.
I'm actually on my smartphone now looking at the Sonata Arctica album.
Nice.
One more. You can't write an instrumental and title it Ismo's Got Good Reactors and not expect people to ask you what the hell it means.
Yeah, all right. There's a short story behind it. I had a friend, and his name was Mika. He was 7 years older than I was, and he died like maybe 8 years ago, unfortunately, age 42, the Elvis age. But when I was like 12 or 13, he was already older than I was, obviously, and the big brother of my best friend. And he was studying to be a kindergarten teacher. And as a part of the whole thing, he had to also work with disabled kids and with some kids that have like developmental issues. And one time they went out for this retreat on an island, and they had to take this fairly small boat with an outboard motor, the engine thingy. And they were standing there on a pier, and it was pretty shallow, so they had lifted the engine up. And Mika noticed that it's about to dip back in the water and hit rocks possibly, and he manages to grab the motor right before it falls down on the rocks and water and lifts it back up. And one of the kids says that, oh, Ismo's got good reactors, which of course he meant that Mika has really great reflexes and reactions. So, and that, when I heard that as a kid already, it stayed with me. And it's like a phrase that I use every time someone saves the day and the moment. That it's a really nice way to remember my late friend as well. It's a heartwarming explanation for that weird name, I think.
No, it's good. I like it. At the beginning, I didn't even ask you how we're pronouncing this album title.
Talviyö. Talvi means a winter in Finnish, and yö is night. So there, Talviyö.
The new album, which basically translates as Winter Night, is coming out on Nuclear Blast on 6th of September. What happens then for the band?
On the same day the album is released, we are starting our North American tour from the USA, and it'll go on for like 6-7 weeks roughly. And then we have like 2 weeks off at home and go on a European tour. And then it's Christmas time, a tiny break, like a month maybe off, and then continue somewhere. I'm not sure yet where, but probably have more shows in Finland and South America. And hopefully sometime late next year, Australia as well. We have been talking about this, and I really keep my fingers crossed that it happens. And hopefully have more shows than just 3, I'd like to see more than Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne.
Yes, so would we over here in Adelaide.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Tony, absolutely fantastic talking to you. Good luck with the new album out on September 6th. I really like it. As I mentioned, it's been on repeat all day here. And good luck with the following tour. And yes, we will have our fingers crossed for a tour sometime next year. Thanks for talking to me today.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Mel. Right. See you in Australia, hopefully.